I think we're running. Hey, welcome to the continuing Winemaker series here at Wine of the Month Club, and we have a very, very special guest today, and we've had such a great conversation already. We're going to try and repeat some of it on camera here, but this is Piero Incisa.
Incisa.
See, I got it wrong already, so that didn't take long, did it?
It's okay.
He is the winemaker from Bodega Chacra, and we are going to taste a Pinot Noir that he made, but that's not the most interesting part, though the wine's gorgeous. But I want to talk to you about it. You're the third generation winemaker.
Yeah. I come from an Italian family, and we are also Tuscan and Piedmontese. And I have the privilege to be born in a family in which my grandfather, in the early 40s, created a wine that started as a table wine, but today he's got his own private appellation. So it's an incredibly success story. He had a vision of planting Cabernet Sauvignon and Cabernet Franc in an area which was known to be not particularly versed for winemaking, and he created a wine called Sassicaia.
Oh, just a small brand like Sassicaia, right?
So the privilege, if you want,
amazing.
is to be able to have a close relationship with a grandfather which does not have the same pressure that a father would have,
right,
and that he really transmitted to us a lot of passion for not just wine but food. And I distinctly remember that he always used to say, remember that to make things the right way or make them the wrong way ordinarily costs the same amount of money and it takes the same amount of time. So you might as well try to do it the right way from the beginning. And he was a little bit of a visionary. He was already implementing organic and biodynamic principles. As a matter of fact, he wrote a book that is still part of the curriculum of the most prestigious University of Agriculture in Italy.
How long ago was that?
Oh, this was in the early 80s.
Wow.
Yeah, he died in 1983, and it was a big inspiration. And I think that his vision was spot on, and then was successfully continued by my uncle, who actually brought Sassicaia to the 20th century. So I was born into the business. I was born drinking wines in those days. When I walked in, I pointed the fact that today everybody thinks that microclimatic conditions are different, and there's a lot of justification for wines to be high alcohol. But if you look at Bordeaux, in this case, from I think was 75, 11.4 alcohol.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that.
Wow. Yeah, it's on your shelf.
Yes, I didn't notice that.
It's
that's interesting.
My first experience with wines were with wines from Piedmont, Burgundy, and Bordeaux. And I'm 49 years old, so I was born in 1967. And so the wine that I was trying with my grandfather had a profile that was not boisterous, was not fruit forward, was not a fruit bomb, was not tannic, was not over extracted, not over concentrated. Farmers had a tendency to pick early, probably by fear of losing their crop.
Sure.
And so my profile that I prefer, which is what we're trying to do at Chacra, is freshness, balance, good acidity, and then if the soil allows, of course, minerality and many other things. So we're making wines following organic and biodynamic principles, which were of course certified in both. And in addition to that, we have a tendency of picking early because we want to retain not just the freshness and the natural acidity, but something that very few people speak about because it's difficult to scientifically quantify it. It's what I call this energetic aspect that the fruit still has when it has not leveled yet. And so whatever I'm telling you today is not the truth. These are just opinions, and they're based on empirical evidences that we have experienced.
We've been reading a lot about these things, and our conversation off camera was extremely interesting. And I want to get to the second part. I want to get to the biodynamic part of it in the second series of this conversation. But there's a couple things that jump out at me. One is you chose Pinot Noir, and you said that this is the only ungrafted vineyard is it in Patagonia or Mendoza or
No,
Argentina?
I believe we are in Rio Negro, and the privilege, again, I'm very lucky because I managed to assemble over 60 acres of vineyards and which are 100% ungrafted.
It's amazing.
And so it's all Massal selection. I'm sure that there is other people, you know, ungrafted vineyards represent less than 0.1% of the global vineyard holdings. So they're very far and few in between. Some areas have more, like South America, Chile, and Argentina. Some areas have a lot less. Very difficult to find. But to me they're very precious because I find that they exhibit something a little extra. You know, of course, by not having a graft, you're not having a deviation. So just the fluidity of the movement of the sap, and on a molecular level, it's a different ball game. I don't want to tell you that it's better or worse. That we'll let the consumer decide for itself.
Yes, exactly.
But it certainly is more resistant. And what we've noticed that through these ungrafted vines and through our organic and biodynamic practices, we're able to pick earlier, so capture this energy along with this natural acidity. But by picking earlier is also because the plant reaches phenolic maturation way earlier. So we do pick earlier. Sometimes our pips a little green. That's why we make wine more by infusion than by extraction, in the sense that I design vats that are very wide and very shallow of cement. So there is a strong contact between the skin and the must. And we don't do punch downs. We don't really play with the wine. It's a little bit like making tea.
Yeah.
It's infusion. So the skins, the
So
stems.
shallow tanks, more surface area.
Yeah, so it's extremely wide.
Yeah.
And it's very shallow.
Right.
And my cement walls are maybe almost like a meter thick. So the idea is to create a microclimatic environment inside in which the grape can evolve and start fermentation with indigenous yeast at its own pace. So
natural yeast as well.
Yeah, it's wild yeast. I mean, why go through the pain and suffering of farming in an organic and biodynamic way if you're then using commercial yeast? The idea is to try to capture all the biodiversity and all the complex subtleties that each terroir has to offer. In this case, we're in Patagonia, in order to put them in a liquid form. We believe that what we have in our soil is very interesting, and so I want to preserve that, and I don't want to stain it with a chemical component, in the hope that you would like what you taste. So it's wild yeast, and infusion. Why? Because by picking early, although we have phenolic maturation, sometimes our pips can be a little green. So we don't want that green to be released in the wine. We want to make wines that are energetic, that are fresh. In this case, I think they're also very mineral. Our soils are very mineral. Our soil composition is sand, clay, pebbles, and limestone. And so our root system absorb all of that, and they convey that to you in a liquid form.
And the terroir is so obvious in the nose. It's gorgeous that way.
Yeah, it's again. I'm looking for freshness. I'm looking for balance. I'm looking for a touch of fruit. You know, you're not supposed to spit. It takes me more time to make a bottle of wine than to make a baby, and you're spitting.
From this point forward, I will not be spitting.
I know it's early in the morning, but. So also the advantage of this is that a byproduct of the style that we're making gives us a wine that are between 12 and 12.8 alcohol. So the wines of Chacra are always lower in alcohol. You're never going to find wines that are tannic or astringent or overripe. We go a little bit more the other route.
This might be a colloquialism, but the passion that you're explaining now is here. You can taste it. You can taste the balance of the minerals. You can taste the balance of when you pick the wine. It's not astringent. It's not acidic. It's got wonderful fruit, but not too much fruit.
Yeah.
I mean, you really...
And some people, it's funny because some people would say, oh, this is a light wine.
No.
In reality, if you manage to close the gap between your tongue and your brain, you notice that this one lingers for 2.5 minutes in your palate. So it's not light. It's maybe it's more delicate. I think that a lot of people...
Feminine maybe, but it's...
Feminine, because you often get rose petals. You get a little bit of this floral bouquet that comes across. But that's primarily because we ferment at lower temperatures and we don't extract. So, you know, heat has a tendency to make things evaporate. In fact, when you cook, if you're cooking at lower temperatures, you can retain more nutrients and more vitamins.
That's the way I try to do it.
So that you can draw a lot of similarities between making food or making wine, in a sense.
We're running out of time here for part 1. We'll be right back with you folks. Cheers.
Cheers. Don't spit.
I'm not going to spit anymore.